them up. For the people who wonder, Rotti, are these replays or are these games live? They are replays, but they are very, very recent. They've been literally played 30 minutes ago or something. So we just always cast the games like 1 hour after they're being actually played.
There are some very strong names in our pool today. I know that Scarlett had registered, so we might see some of her today. Letod, our good buddy from France, had registered, so we may see some of him today. I'm also eager to see if Idra has a good showing. I think I would love to see the Kraken in top form, and he's overdue, man. I'm waiting for him to come out, and I'm waiting to shout the Grak is back once again.
That's your famous catchphrase. Nobody ever really gave you credit for that one.
Man.
Isn't that true, man?
That was all me. That was I Am China, shouting it from the rooftops.
You were shouting that tournament. There's absolutely no doubt about it.
That is the only event I've ever done where I completely blew up my voice.
I remember that. And you acted like a sore kitty for days. You're like, my life's so tough. I cast StarCraft II games for a living and I completely lost my voice. Oh, Ben.
It is a tough life when your job is to cast StarCraft and you can't speak.
Well, it was over by that time. Anyway, guys.
You know what else was over? My career in my mind. I was like, oh, God, what if it never comes back?
Well, that's terrifying.
That would have been rough, dude.
I must say it would be pleasant on
so
quite some people.
Just imagine if you went to sleep tonight and you woke up tomorrow and you forgot how to speak English.
No, I could make a very bad joke about myself in that regard, but I'm not going to go there.
Kev, you ready to go to work? And he'd be like,
yeah. Hello? Of course, Ziktomini, guys, is your British Zerg player on the left top side of Ohana. And KawaiiRice is your North American Terran player, spawning in the right bottom side, going for the no-gas fast expand build. And Ziktomini going with his standard hatch first.
Very common builds on both sides in this metagame. KawaiiRice even building that command center on the low ground. That is about as greedy as you can get with this one racks fast expand, especially when you consider he floated his racks after making just one marine. What if Ziktomini had mixed it up a little bit and thrown his spawning pool down on 13, 14 supply and run 6 lings across? Kawhi would have had no choice but to cancel that command center. But in this day and age, it's pretty safe to say that Zerg players don't do that kind of thing.
Or you just pull all SCVs, Ben, and then micro your one marine.
Ooh, that would be some pretty clutch micro.
Yes, but it's possible.
Pull your SCVs, click on middle line, press H.
Just, yeah, press
and you're safe.
No, like, imagine if you would park like the marine over here and you surround it with SCVs. Man, that's so smart.
That's what I do when I get 6
Ooh, this is interesting, Ben. KawaiiRice already dropping an additional command center, so he's going to open up a very economic, but will most likely be low on units for quite a while. And I find this a little bit risky against a player like Ziktomini, Ben, because I watched those games from the WCS UK. I double-checked it was UK. And in the overall final, for instance, where he played against the Muslim, I still remember the final map on Tal'Darim, where he just suddenly made a lot of roaches pretty early on, and the Muslim just did not expect so many units early on. And that's not the only time I've ever seen Ziktomini do that. He's not afraid to switch it up. He's not afraid to make a lot of units at an unusual moment and be aggressive with them. So I find it a little bit risky, but let's hope Kawhi knows what he's doing. Yeah,
he has taken a bit of a chance, a bit of a gamble, but if we look in the main base of Ziktomini, we can see that Kawhi is in fact pretty safe. Not only is he picking off this Overlord in the middle of the map, his opponent, Ziktomini, is gasless. He's going up to 4 queens.
No, there's no doubt about it. He's going to be fine in this scenario, but that doesn't change that. It is a little bit risky to do it against a player like Ziktomini. But now he's going to get the wall off as well. He has those marines in the middle of the map. He's actually going to be able to out-micro these links as well. Man, this is starting pretty nice for Kawhi. That must feel so good when you already killed 4 units and you didn't lose anything.
Absolutely, man. He's played perfectly thus far, and he's got a great economy coming up behind him. Double orbital's finished. Triple orbital is on the way.
Do you still think he's going to roll with a factory, or do you think it would just be too late and that he's most likely just going to tag up hard and then move out with a more serious army rather than Hellions and Benches?
3 gas, double engineering bay.
I think he's going to kind of skip the Hellion phase. He might make 2 to 4 just for a little bit of map control, but I don't think he's going to rely on dealing economic damage.
Yeah, I think we're going to see him go right up to Medivacs, honestly, Kev. But we're going to have to just sort of wait and see. There are still a fairly respectable contingent of Marines out here on the map. 7 Marines there in that control group. And with no units out for Ziktomini, he's got to be a little bit safe. Queens, of course, are excellent against Marines. There's 6 Queens out. Well, wow, 6 Queens will deal with 7 Marines.
6 Queens on 2 base. That's kind of crazy.
That is a little bit crazy. And I've actually had this conversation with Destiny before, because I play a ZVT style sort of similar to this, where you play gases for a while and then you go up to a 3rd base when you feel like that you're able to do so. Destiny says you really can't take that 3rd base until you have some kind of higher tech out, something that's going to give you an answer to the bio. Banelings or Infestors something along those lines. In this case, Ziktomini is going to be using his queens as that sort of bio-deterrent. And
it has everything to do, of course, with the way that Terran opens up as well.
Yeah.
And if Ziktomini would have known that Kawhi opened this economically, I can only imagine that he would have dropped that third hatch even a little bit quicker than he actually did. The good thing is, though, Ben, with those 6 creeps, with those 6 queens, he's going to have an amazing creep spread. This is 8 minutes into the game, and he's already spreading tumors like it's 9085. Because back then, Ben, we spread a lot of tumors.
Okay, moving on. Queens are continuing to push that creep. There are a few Zerglings out. Ziktomini just producing those guys to be extra safe. He built a 3rd hatchery at his 3rd base, and he's even throwing down that 4th macro hatch. I love this. You know that I love this. It just gives him so much additional production, and especially when you're going to be playing a Zergling-centric playstyle, because Zerglings, they're very larva intensive. You've got to have a lot of larva if you're going to be able to keep up with your mineral income, and the best way to do that, of course, inject well and have extra hatcheries.
I really think this is going to be insane creep spread, certainly because Kawhi opened the way that he did, but he never opened with the Hellions, which is kind of what we expected after the way we saw him building those 3 additional rects after a triple orbital already, that he was kind of going to skip the Hellion phase and just try to get the Marine and tanks out and immediately work on those upgrades, as he had double engineering bay as well, and trying to get siege tanks out. And now Kawhi is going to see this. It's like, this is 9 minutes and 45 seconds into the game. Now already so many tumors, and even after taking out all these tumors, with all those active queens still, it's just a matter of time before it's all back.
Yeah, Kawhi's got to be very careful about being out on the map, period, especially when he is on creep. Ziktomini, well, he doesn't have many units on the map at this instant. He's got 30 lings about to pop out. He's got some banelings that have already been morphed. That is more than enough to deal with an exclusively bio ball. I mean, Zergling alone could probably deal with it if it were to catch a good fight. Kawhi is going back. He's taking his 3rd base. He's getting siege tanks out.
Ziktomini still has an Overlord over here on the south side of Kawhi's natural, but he could potentially, he will see that. It's a big yellow dot on your minimap. So I can only imagine that Ziktomini will see that, and now kind of wonder how he's going to answer to this.
More lings in production. He's working on +2 armor, +1 melee just finished. A baneling attack right now might not be a bad idea, Kev. Like, as soon as Zergling speed finishes, we can see the tank count not very high. Siege mode is done, but there's just 2 tanks out. And we've seen some really cool things happen with baneling timing attacks from top European Zergs many times in the past.
Interesting. Kawhi delayed his starport quite a bit. Really, perhaps just trying to get as many tanks out as possible, spending a lot of his gas on all the upgrades. But still, that's quite a late starport, so that means that his medefacts are going to be even later. So Kawhi's just going to play this as passive as possible for a little while longer.
Yep, Ziktomini still a little passive himself. He's going up to hive. He's making more units.
Wow, that's crazy as well.
I don't think we're going to see him get too aggressive. I wouldn't mind seeing him push out with these banelings, but it just doesn't feel like what he wants to do here with the hive on the way and no spire down yet. That tells us that he wants to go ultras. 11
minutes and 20 seconds, and he's upgrading to hive, Ben. So despite this being an ultra-related playstyle, I can't help to feel that T-Fall was always one of the first Zergs to really do this. Back then, when this was considered like super risky and nobody was getting hive in the 11-minute range, there was this Polish Zerg called T-Fall, together with Paranoid, but mostly T-Fall. They were already doing this really a lot, and they had some success in the European Weekly Cups, winning a couple of Go 4s and whatnot. And it's kind of funny how that style became so mainstream, and now when we see an 11-minute hive, we say, yeah, that's fast, but yeah, that's how you can play right now if you know your opponent is going to be passive. But back in the days, that was so different. So I really think that's kind of cool for T-Fall, that he was really one of the trendsetters.
I love how active Ziktomini is being with this creep spread, Kev. 2 queens actively dropping new creep tumors.
Yeah.
And 10 tumors at once moving up on the other side of the map. So he is pushing that creep very hard. He knows the strength of it. It just does so much for you. It gives you vision. It speeds. It gives you mobility. But more than that, it makes your opponent feel so nervous. You can't just walk out onto creep because the Zerg player is going to know where you are, he's going to know how to engage, and he's going to be really fast when he does come crash into you.
Yep, makes it so hard for Kawhi. I think that's definitely working for Kawhi, though, is that Ziktomini has good upgrades, but Kawhi has insanely good upgrades as well. Already had 2-2 at the 13-minute mark. And we see 3-2 is on the way, did not start the last armor upgrade yet. But this is kind of a scary moment for Ziktomini, since A, he's not that rich, and B, we see the Spire and the Ultra Cavern is on the way.
Nice fungal on a lot of these Marines, and Ziktomini is going to crash right into this army. There's a lot of tanks in the back, though, and we're not it's not completely clear whether or not, no, Ziktomini does not have enough. Kawhi actually ends up holding as everything sort of streamed in from one angle, and that's a bit of a mistake. You really want to come in from multiple angles so that your units can't just be funneled and killed like that.
At least Kawhi did take control of the zone, southern Zelnaga watchtower right now, and he's going to try to do something about the creep on the left side of this Zelnaga watchtower, and we'll pick up maybe 2 queens. Pick up. Oof, he does pick it up in time.
But that medevac is probably going to be fungled. Yes, it is, and the Marines inside all doomed to an early death, early retirement.
Scary moment if you're a passenger on that medevac, man. You know you're going to die.
It's going to be a bumpy ride.
One way or the other. The queen or the infestors. Or the medevac would just drop you again.
I think I would rather die in the plane crash than be ripped to pieces by Zerglings.
Yes, me too. Zerglings are kind of like piranhas. Ziktomini is going to try to make something happen once more, but excellent tank positioning here by Kawhi will make Kawhi a little bit safer. Kawhi is scanning, and this is just kind of a scary army, and also the creep spread, as we pointed out so many times, makes it so hard for Kawhi to put some real serious pressure on Ziktomini, which of course gives Ziktomini the time to get those ultras out. Well,
he's had the Ultras Cavern done for a while. We can see that the upgrade is 50 seconds complete, and he's just starting the first Ultralisks now, which, yeah, maybe he was just dumping all of his resources into Lings and Banelings and things like that. That could be why he delayed that Ultras production. Kawhi is getting position on this 4th expansion, but Ziktomini got to come in from behind, will immediately take out some siege tanks, and this is a pretty solid engagement. Fungal going down.
Yeah. Oh, the Marines are positioned very well, but they're still a little bit clumped up. A lot of reinforcements coming in, but I think Ziktomini will be fine. He just barely had enough links to deal with all the units of Kawhi. That was a pretty close fight.
Barely enough Marines, more than enough infestors. Kawhi's entire
scan
army
being used. He's going to try to pick off as many infestors as possible. We'll pick off 2, 3 even. So 3 infestors being picked off for just a handful of Marines. That was a very nice exchange for Kawhi. Of course, the overall exchange was still quite okay for Ziktomini, but if he would have kept those infestors alive as well, I would have said it went very good. Now it just went okay.
I would say that it was exceptional for Ziktomini, Kev, as he's now switching over into that Ultralist tech. He's going to have 8 Ultras out on the field, and there's just not that much in Kawhi's army that's great against Ultras. Obviously, siege tanks do phenomenal damage against Ultras, but you've got to have the Marine count to supplement. KawaiiRice is building 4 Ghost Academies.
What? So just...
Now, nukes would be one way to kill an Ultralisk.
A double nuke. This is always very nice. We keep mentioning this oh so often. This is so important. It's so annoying for Terran and Protoss players to try to expand when there is creep at your fort base, and that fort base is often oh so crucial, because certainly when players open so economically, they're gonna mine out their main and the natural a little bit quicker as well. We have a drop going on over here on the right side of the map for Kawhi. He didn't kill a whole lot of drones, but he did pick off quite a few Zerglings. Yep. And he pulled the army out of position.
But ultimately that drop is cleaned up. Kawhi is trying to secure a 4th base in the midst of this. He's dealt with that Overlord. Still, the creep has not receded. It takes a full 60 seconds for that creep to go away.
I would really like to see that get patched once. I think it lasted a little bit too long.
I think it should last longer, man. This is like if you
race do you play
drop
again?
A bunch of mud on the ground, the mud just doesn't go somewhere.
Yes, you do. Certainly when you have 8 Marines with a shovel over there.
Well, they don't have shovels. They're holding machine guns.
Yeah, well, you can use it as a shovel too.
Maybe you could get the shovel upgrade for the Marines. I would be fine with that.
200. Marines can clear out creep now. Terran's going to be like, awesome, just what we needed.
Ziktomini is going to come crash into this 4th base. Planetary's not ready yet. That is a lot of Ultras, and the tanks are not in position, and that base forced to lift. And you know what? The creep is going to just come right up.
Yep, and not just that, a lot of fresh mules just died there as well. Now Kawhi does have a little bit of a bank. This is a very nice fungal on top of 4 medevacs, and all 4 of them will fall if he renews the fungals. And can only imagine that he wants to do. That does mean he has a little bit less fungus for the bio army, but 4 medevacs, I say it's worth it.
Oh man, what great creep spread from Ziktomini. He's going to get fungal again in the middle of the map, but...
I picked off 2 infestors with that little hit squad, so that was more than worth it. As you had another drop right now on the right top side of this map as well, but once again, Kawhi did not kill a whole lot of drones.
Look at Kawhi's 4th, and just look at how annoying this has to be. We're going to see a scan go down, and the Marauders are going to try to kill these creep tumors, but...
Kawhi's dropping a lot of additional bases, which I think is a little bit risky, man, because if they're going to have a big fight real soon, Kawhi is not going to have the money to replace all of his units. He's not that rich.
That's a really great point, Kevin, and this is more and more what we're seeing in late game ZVT. It's become a battle for the Terran's 4th base. Zerg wants to deny it. Terran wants to secure it. If Kawhi can secure this base, he can continue producing into the late game. If not, well, he's just going to be choked out. He's gonna suffocate.
It's going to be harder for Kawhi to be active with those drops now as well, as the first Corruptors are on the map, and Kawhi realizing that, hey, I might have to deal with Broodlord soon as well. One Ultra is kind of like a lost dolphin. He lost his...
Lost dolphin?
Yeah, you know.
Swimming on creep.
Yes.
As more Ultras and Lings crash into the army of Kawhi. It's a lot of siege tanks, Ziktomini. I don't know if you want to take this fight. He's going to go for it anyway. Ultras do eventually get up on top of that army. They do great damage to the Marauders and the tanks.
Great focus fire by all those siege tanks, immediately killing all the infestors. And these Marauders will be able to take out all these Ultras.
And, well, you know, it was still a trade that looks okay for Ziktomini.
It's because Ziktomini has a sick bank, and he's producing 9 Ultras right now. But his real army supply was actually quite small for a little while.
Marauders are going to try and deny this base. I'm pretty sure the Ultralisk alone can deal with that. Chomp, chomp. And those medevacs are going to have to fly away.
The medevac does have to fly away. Of course, 3 Marauders do survive as well. 1 Marauder did fall. Ziktomini played an excellent ZVT. There's really nothing else to say about it. He was passive in the start, did not take too many risks. The moment he realized that Kawhi was already going up to 3 bases and he never had to deal with Hellions, he had excellent cruise threat, excellent map control, took one quite good fight over here despite losing a few infestors at the end. Other than that, he just played a really good game, and he's just so much richer than his opponent.
He's now got Broodlords out. Kawhi is adding extra starports to ramp up the Viking production. It's going to be tough, though. He has secured this 4th. Planetary's done there, so maybe, Kev, if he can get some mining here and reestablish that economy. But he is in a tough spot right now. He's also taking a 5th base. He's building a planetary there as well, and he's dropping mules at...
double drop going on. There's a drop going on the right side of this map as well. These Marines will be taken care of. This is the drop still with those 3 Marauders. But yeah, this is nothing really he can do. The units move around so quick for Ziktomini. And I think we're going to need to see the king of all ghosts, man.
The king of ghosts? Where is he?
I don't know.
Ghost King Prime.
Ghost King Prime. I think it's this guy. He's going to drop a crucial nuke. This little guy right here.
The missile turret guy?
No, I see great... I see... I see great things ahead of this little ghost.
Alright, well, I'll follow the ghost. Actually, I'm going to zoom in on the missile turret guy because he is my favorite Terran unit.
You can do that, Ben, since we're not streaming from your PC.
He basically plays Xbox all day. You realize that's his job, to sit there and shoot missiles at things.
Kawhi is being pretty active with drops, despite the fact that there are Corruptors on the map, there are Fungals on the map. Still trying to make something happen. One Marauder unfortunately does fall, and these Spine Crawlers will be able to buy a little bit of time for KawaiiRice. Seems like Ziktomini is not going to be bothered to deal with this. He's actually going to lose the hatchery just because he's relying on the Spine Crawlers, and all of his units are over here.
Yep. Medevac goes down, the Marines will all die, and the hatch will be replaced. But that's a small victory for Kawhi. The real problem are these Broodlords that are making their way over to this left side 4th expansion.
This army is indeed a real problem, Ben, but if he's somehow able to get one more good engagement, then I actually think it's starting to look a lot brighter for Kawhi, as Kawhi does have this base over here as well, his 5th base. So even if he loses his 4th, Cloaked Ghost.
Here comes the king and his court, picking off a couple of infestors with snipes. Oh no.
Oh, that's a good fungal. Killing all 3 ghosts immediately. Now the Ultras and Zerglings will stream in. Not that many Broodlords remaining, and the Broodlords that do still remain are very low on HP. Great fungal on top of all those Vikings.
But once again, Kawhi's base is crushed. And even if Ziktomini doesn't trade well here, he's got 3,000 minerals, 2,000 gas. He can remax on whatever the hell he wants.
That is true, but remaxing on Ultras is also expensive. You should know all about that, Ben. It's often like, I can still remax, and suddenly you're broke.
18 Ultras.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what's happened. Now Ziktomini has $0, 9 Ultras on the way, along with 6 infestors.
So a couple of those Ultras are so low on HP, I would have loved to see Kawhi try to focus them down first, instead of dealing a little bit of damage across 4 out of 5 Ultras.
Nuke is coming down, Kev. It's over here on the 4th base.
Oh, we have an engagement over here as well, so we can still see him microing. This time he will be able to deal with those Ultras, and Ziktomini did pull away his drones in time. Oof.
2 unlucky drones out of the extractor at the same time. Corruptors dealing with Medevacs, Marines, and Ultralisks chasing away the bio. Ziktomini's got to be careful, Kev. I don't like the way he's allocating his late game resources. He's spending way too much on these ultras.
Yep, that's exactly what I just said. He's going to lose all these ultras again as well. We'll most likely end up losing. Nice move right there by Kawhi. Oh, the Vikings good enough.
Ooh, gets 2 infester kills.
Kills them all. Got them both.
And here come the reinforcing ultras. That's a lot of them, but I mean, Kawhi is exclusively Marine Marauder medevac right now, and that's okay.
Wow, more nukes going down right now on the right side as well. So Ziktomini did lose this base too, Ben. And the problem that we mentioned so many times is starting to get closer and closer. He's not all that rich anymore. One more bad fight, and this is a whole new game.
That said, if you can shut down this expansion in the bottom right, that is all of Kawhi's income.
That is true.
And Ziktomini is heading in that direction, and Kawhi, I do not feel, has nearly enough to fight this Ultralisk force heads up. No,
not with those 5-6 infestors. They make it so much more scary. If he could land the sickest EMP of all time, I think he might have been able to deal with his army, but it's not. Ziktomini is of course not going to make it that easy for him.
No, picks off the command center and then just walks away. Another nuke coming down. This is over here on the left side of the map, and Ziktomini right away catches it. One little trick that Zerg players can use when they hear that nuke go off is use your return to base hotkey. It's default to backspace. If you just cycle through your bases, spend a second or two on each base, you can usually spot that red dot. And if the nuke is falling on one of your bases, you'll see it just by doing that.
That is a very useful tip. But imagine if it lands on your army and you keep hitting spaces.
that would be a bad experience.
You keep cycling, where is it? And suddenly you see supply tab going from 200 to 89. Like,
I just lost 16 Broodlords. Not bad.
Not bad. 30-minute game already, I'll know, Hana, but Kawhi, why don't you just float over some of your bases? You still have an orbiter in your main, you still have an orbiter in your natural. Gas ain't really the problem. I still think that Terrans wait way too long sometimes with this. I know they want to keep those orbitals alive, of course, in case they need them for scans or mules on a new base, but sometimes you just have to take a risk, because right now Kawhi is literally killing himself.
He does drop a nice scan and EMPs. A lot of infestors, snipes a couple more, but man, he is still fighting such an uphill battle. He's 50 supply down, as we are going to see one more big fight. Infestors well behind, but the Ultras and Zerglings by themselves are doing great damage. Finally, some fungal goes down, and that is going to lock Kawhi in place, and that is probably GG, Kev.
Great fungals there by Ziktomini. That's also, I mean, he had the better army, but still, that helped out a lot. It would have perhaps been a little bit tricky if this fight would have gone terrible. But that is not what's happening. Kawhi calls GG, and Ziktomini takes the first game.
Well played, Ziktomini. Really impressive game there against Kawhi. Shows just some great game sense. Very fast tech to hive, good upgrades. Ultras come out, dominates the map, and then, of course, he does a good enough job of denying Kawhi's 4th and 5th expansions that he's able to ultimately win in the late game. Very well played. Folks, we're going to play a short commercial, and then we will return with Game 2, KawaiiRice versus Ziktomini. Stick around.